Hello, I'm Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels, and today we're going to be working on this Daiwa 1600C. It's definitely seen cleaner days. I don't really think it's in that bad a shape. I'm going to try to start off by trying to get some of the line clipped away from it so we can do an ops check, see if the thing works or not. Let's clip this line, see if we can't get some of this line out of here. There, that's better. Okay, it's stiff, without a doubt. No anti-reverse there. Let's see here. Okay, the anti-reverse is working. The bail trip's fine. It's kind of hard not to, and it's got that big slam. I mean, it does, if you manually trip it, it's kind of slow. It's pretty stiff, but turns both directions. Let's see if we can tighten up the drag on it. Oh yeah. Okay, so the drag works fine. It basically, I think what we have here is just a really dirty reel that needs to be scrubbed up. So Chris, I hope you're watching. Chris has been responding to quite a few of my videos here lately, and I appreciate that. Ed, I don't know where you disappeared to, but I missed your comments. Come back, brother. I hope I didn't hurt your feelings. I hope you're okay. We're going to take the spool off and try to get a look. See, we're really loose here, but I think the reason we're really loose is because this nut is loose. There we go. Yeah, that's all that was. I'm going to start off cleaning this with my dirty rag, and we'll move into my clean rag in a little bit. But yeah, that tightened that up considerably. So let's go ahead, take the handle off. Let's see, this is that type of handle. All right. I'm sure Chris was sitting out there saying, hey, I know enough about Daiwas to know you can't just unscrew that handle off that side. So there we go. Put that screw back on that to keep it together. I don't think there's another screw out there on the reel that's going to look like that, but it's okay. Okay, we've got that done. Let's see about taking this side plate off. I'm going to break it loose first. I'm going to try to. Wow, there's a lot of dirt in it. Not with that one, we're not. Let's try again. There we go. I'm going to break each of these screws loose before I take them out with Phillips. Try to keep them from getting stripped out. There we go. All right. And I tend to find that once you've got them broke loose, the Phillips works a lot better at taking them the rest of the way out than the standard. All right, all three screws for the side plate are the same. Let's see what things look like inside. Oh, Lord have mercy. Somebody did what I used to do when I was a kid. They packed it full of grease. And it sure makes for a mess when you go to clean it up. Now, Dennis over at Second Chance Tackle says this will really help to ruin a reel. I'm not sure of that. I think it will keep it from getting from functioning properly by all means. But oh my goodness, it is a mess when you go to try to clean it out. But yes, this when I was a teenager, this is exactly what I did with a reel. I would take it and pack it full of grease. As a matter of fact, I think I mentioned that in a video just a day or so ago. It makes for a heck of a mess trying to get it cleaned back out. All right, will this come out without that? No. Which means we've got to take the crosswind block loose, which means we have to be able to find the crosswind block under all this mess. Okay. There we go. I'm going to come in with a Q-tip. Hey, I finally see a screw. There it is. All right, we're going to wind this down to bring that crosswind block as far down to the bottom as we can. I thought we would. I guess with that loose now, it's not going to turn anymore. There we go. All right. Once we get that down, we're going to take out the screw for the crosswind block. All right, with the screw removed, we should be able to pull the axle shaft out, and it's bound up. There, it come out. And I'm going to go ahead and put the screw back in the axle shaft just so we don't get it misplaced. Now we should be able to take, let's grab it with something that can grab hold of the grease. There we go. And that pulled out a bushing. It appears on the other side. Wow, what a mess. Okay. Somewhere under all this, it's a crosswind block. All right, as Dennis says, always make sure to take pictures, but I'm not sure pictures would help you much there because you can't see anything. It's all covered in grease. All right, let's see what we can get out of here now. And this does appear to be axle grease that they've used. Well, that might help to explain why it is that this reel was so heavy. This appears to be a 14 millimeter, and it is. Okay, we're going to take off the rotor nut. And that would probably explain why this reel looks so bad on the outside, because with it packed up with that much grease on the inside, it just had to try to seep from every pore that it had. Every single crack and crevice. Look at the grease where it was coming out through the main bushing. Wow. All right, at that point, we're going to try to pull this gear off, anti-reverse gear. There we go. And underneath all this mess, there are two more screws, one here and one here. We're going to take those out. And there's a third screw I couldn't see because of all the grease. I think we're going to have to take this one out first. Now there's going to be, I'm almost certain, yep, there it is. There's a spring right there. When I take this off, this spring is going to want to shoot. No? What have we got here? There it is. I knew there had to be a spring on there. There it is. All right, with that done, let's see if we can get, there we go. That gets the last one out. And I am not going to have you guys on camera for this, trying to clean this mess up. This is by far my worst mess I've had to deal with. Time to use up the last of this can of WD-40. And it's time to get all of this nasty mess out of my workstation. All right, we're back, and believe it or not, everything is reasonably clean. I'm gonna have to admit to you that in order to get this thing, I usually try not to do things that every day, you know, that just everybody doesn't have at home. And here's what I found. I was just having way too much trouble trying to get all this grease out of here, so I ended up dipping this reel into a container of acetone to break that grease down so I could get it off. There was just so much of it. After almost an hour of trying to clean it out with Q-tips and such, it was still full of grease. So a 5-minute bath in acetone and this here brush cleaned it pretty much right all up. So just wanted to let you know how I got this thing clean. If you ever have to and you need to go down that road, it's okay. As long as you make it quick, it's not going to hurt the paint. The paint's old, it's been there long enough that it's not just going to fall off. So let's get back to work and let's see if we can't get this reel back together. Now the first thing we want to do is put our pinion gear back in. So it's all been cleaned up and inspected. You can look at it yourself. Okay, it looks real nice. And let's put some grease here on the pinion gear. And I'm probably getting a little carried away with it. But this has not been fun getting the grease out of this, and to have to turn around and put grease back on these parts is almost a little annoying. All right. Put the grease on there on the pinion gear, followed up by the bearing. Now the bearing, this is a shielded bearing. It's not a sealed bearing, it's a shielded bearing. If you look at it, the oil will get inside there. So what I did is I cleaned it good with WD-40 and then I flooded it with fishing reel oil. And now it's ready to go back in. And it's spinning beautifully. All right. Next is going to go this keeper. Gonna slip on here, and that sort of holds our bearing in. All right, there we go. And that grease had managed to work its way up all the way through that shielded bearing and up through this shaft. It was absolutely into everything. So it had gotten so bad up here that we weren't able to see how this spring went. So I spent a little bit of time off camera figuring out how to do this because you couldn't see because of all the grease. So what we're going to do, we're going to set this spring in here. You've got a long end and a short hooked end. The short hooked end is going to go in towards the pinion gear, and it's going to go over this post right here, like that. Now, what I did is I pulled this spring over this way, and then I eased this anti-reverse assembly over and into place to where that spring hooks on it right there. Okay, with that in place now, that lever, now don't flip it too many times. You see how it creeps up every time you flip it? So don't flip it too much, getting, practicing with it. Finally, well, almost finally, next goes on the washer, followed up by the screw. Yeah, when you put so much grease on there that you can't even see where your springs and stuff are going, you know you got way too much grease. Okay, next comes this shaft, this bushing, slides down over it. Now look, it's got a shouldered end that fits down inside that collar, like so. Then comes your ratchet, and your ratchet is going to go on so that it fits. Let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, first off, it's going to fit there. But next, see how the teeth fit right here into this makeup? Okay, when this rotates, that clicks like that. And when it backs up, that locks. That keeps that anti-reverse going. Okay, there is your anti-reverse override. Now it spins freely backwards. Flip it back the other way, it locks. All right, so that's all back together, and we're ready to put that rotor back on. Okay, now you might ask, what's clicking? That's our anti-reverse right there. Okay, there's nothing up inside here. Put that in place. We're going to slip our nut back on. And if we've done our job correctly, this is going to spin freely, which it does. And the bail should trip right there. Okay. Turn your anti-reverse override on so that we can spin it both directions, and that'll make it easier for this next part of the install. Next, we want to install our Kreiswind block. We're going to lubricate it good, grease it. Grease the post that it rides on in here and the surface that it sits on. And then you want to make sure that you put grease on the gear teeth. There we go. There's your crosswind block gear. And here comes your crosswind block. We're going to lube the hole that post right there on the gear sits in. We're going to go ahead and lube the top of the gear and the bottom of the crosswind block, because all this rides together. And turn it like this in this configuration, or this position, and slide this side up underneath that bar, and the other side slides over top of that bar. Now, hang on just a second. We missed a spot. Let's pull this back up for a second. If you look, this side over here is riding right there on that shelf. So you want to lubricate that shelf as well. And if you don't do it before you put the crosswind block in, you won't be able to do it later. At least not effectively. All right, slide that back under. I'm going to use these so you can see what I'm doing. So my big hand's out of the way. Okay, this side's going to slide up under there and then down over the post on the crosswind block. With that in place, we're ready to install our main gear. We're going to oil these bushings. I tried to take these bushings off and they do not want to come off. I even tried prying a bit and they just did not want to move. So we're going to leave them in place. I tried to clean them up underneath them as much as I could so that they would turn as free as possible. And I think they're going to be fine. I just would have preferred to be able to get them out. And they just won't come out over this end. I think this is mushroomed out on the end from over tightening of the handle. And I don't want to take a chance on breaking those bushings because I don't have any spare replacements. Now this side over here is much cleaner and much smoother than this side. I wish I could get more up under there, but I can't. It just doesn't want to come off. Let me grab it with a rag and see if I can pull it that way. See, it's got a shoulder here that pops in on over top of. And I think probably when the bushing was new, it was much more pliable than it is now, and probably popped right over. But it's not pliable like that anymore. But there was a lot of dirt left in there, and that's what was causing the gritty feel. And so I finally decided it had to come off one way or the other. Okay. Otherwise, you'd feel it. Every time you wound that handle, you would feel that gear grind. All right, now we've got to get this to pop back over and on. There we go. That's not too bad. Oh, that's much smoother. That's good. All right, and this side over here was already smooth. So we're ready to grease this gear up and put it back in. Slide this back down in there. That bushing should go back in the hole like that. Should go all the way in, and it's not yet. There, that popped into place. Okay, now when you turn that, everything should be moving, and that's good, except now we got to get the axle shaft back in. Okay, I had to clean this axle shaft up with some steel wool. It's not bent, but it is tarnished a bit. It had a lot of rust on it. I cleaned the rust off of it. It's still got a little bit of a burr right there, or pitting that you can feel. So normally I oil these. Because of the pitting, I'm going to grease this one. Sometimes I'll do that. If I think wear tolerances are a little out of whack, I'll go ahead and put grease where I normally would put oil. Okay, now what's going to happen if you put too much oil, it's going to bind up right here and come off. And what I'm going to do once I get it all the way in is I'm going to wipe that off with a cotton swab. Okay, we're going to slide that in until that hole lines up. And now we're ready to put the screw back in. Now when we spin it, everything's supposed to go as it does, and it works fine. All right. Now, if you look in there, everything looks good, right? No problems. We're going to add a little bit of grease to this bushing over here, where actually the bushing should be spinning on the inside, but I want it to be able to slide in easily when we slide this on. Here's our cover, which looks considerably better now than it did before. And it did not have to go into the acetone bath. It only got a WD-40 scrub. Now, that's got that. We're ready to put the side cover back on. Or sorry, the handle back on. And we've got a little scrubbing to do here that I missed. All right. I'll slide the handle back in. And there is a rubber or plastic screw and washer that's supposed to go on the end of the screw. I'll slip that on. All right, some of my more astute viewers may have noticed that while I was off cleaning things, I took the drag stack apart without showing you how to do it. I think most of you who have been watching me for any time at all pretty much know how to take that apart right now. I will explain it to you as I put it back together. And it was just in the middle of cleaning things and I just couldn't just stop. I wanted to go ahead and get it done. So this is where your drag is for your reel. Okay, we're going to put the drag stack in. First, these drag washers, and the metal ones, are steel. They're not stainless steel like a lot of drag washers are. That being the case, even though these are Teflon washers in here, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put drag washer grease on these drag washers. Now the reason being, when I took this apart, there was evidence in here of rusting. See right here? So I don't want this to fail due to rust. Even though all the grease that was in there still didn't completely eliminate the rust chance. So let's make sure to at least add a little bit of grease. I think that this reel, I think the reason they packed it so full of grease, I really think they took it saltwater fishing. And judging from the rust that's on the Axle shaft, that's what I'm thinking anyway. I don't know that for certain. I'm just making an educated guess. And I'm not real sure just how educated I am about that. There we go. Now, for anyone who hasn't seen one of my videos before where we took one of these drag stacks apart, all this is a pentagon clip that fits in. It snaps into this groove right here. And if you want to take it out, all you have to do is right here at this corner, you would hook your screwdriver up underneath there and pry it up out of there. Make sure to keep a finger on top of it because it is a spring and it will shoot out. Okay. Now, we're going to put a little bit of grease right here. This had a ton of grease up inside here. This is our clicker for our drag. And I've managed to get most of the grease cleaned up out of it. We're going to slide the spool back on. You can hear the clicker. Okay. Now, oh, hang on. This guy here's still dirty. There we go. I'm going to tighten down our drag knob. Let's see if the drag's working. Let's flip this over. Get a hold of it there. Okay. Flip it back. Drag's working. Can we loosen it up? Oh yeah. Can we tighten it down to practically no drag? Absolutely. Okay. There you have it. The Daiwa 1600C. It has certainly not been well taken care of or not properly serviced. However, oh, by the way, I wanted to show you this. This happened off camera. This knob right here allows you to fold this handle down. Yes, you can take the whole handle off, or you can adjust this knob right here to fold it down. There we go. Okay. The bail works perfectly, as a matter of fact. The bail works, the drag works, the anti-reverse works, the clicker works. Everything works on this reel. And if you like what you saw here today, I would appreciate it if you hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. If you have anything to talk to me about at all, any comments, please make them. I love talking to you guys. I met Christopher today, and it was enjoyable talking to you. And I got a feeling when I go to post this video, I'll find you've responded to some others. Ed, I really do miss you, Maddie. You were making lots of comments on my videos, and then you just disappeared. I was talking to you, and I think maybe you thought I was making fun of you or something. I hope not, because I was not. I enjoyed having your conversation and your inputs. And anybody else has anything they want to let me know about, please enter it in the comments below. Oh, wait a minute. One more thing. Yes, we have a perfectly functional bail, but we want to keep it a perfectly functional bail. So we're going to oil it in all the places where the bail moves. There. All right. If you'd like to see more videos like this and you haven't previously subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and you will be notified when more come out. And for now, that's Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels signing out.